Hey there. Welcome to Hobie on YouTube. I hope everybody's doing well. I have a couple of Camillus vintage scout knives to show you this time around. They are unofficial scout knives. I think they're from the 1920s or 30s, like most of the scout knives that I recently bought are. Camillus actually didn't start making official Boy Scout of America knives until 1946. And I think they made them all the way up until 2007 when they went bankrupt and the name was sold to Taylor Brands. But yeah, Camillus is an old company. It was started in 1902 when Adolph Castor and brothers, who had been cutlery importers since 1875, bought the Camillus Knife Company of Camillus, New York from Charles Sherwood and renamed it Camillus Cutlery. Again, both of these knives are unofficial scout knives. They're both pre-World War II, but they're also both special brand names of Camillus, which will be kind of interesting to talk about. The first one is a sword brand knife. And sword brand, Camillus used really from their beginnings, according to Goines' Encyclopedia of Cutlery Markings. They use that name, that brand from 1902 on. According to Levine's Guide, 1906. So 1902, 1906, pretty much from their beginnings, they used sword brand on their highest line of knives. So sword brand indicated, their premium knives. And this is just really a beautiful, well-made knife. It's your standard 3 5/8 inch, 4-blade utility scout type knife, but it is really just well executed. You can see it has these really nice jigged brown bone handles. They're in perfect shape, no cracks or splits. You can see 4 exposed pins there on the back and 3 on the front. The banner shield that reads Scout Knife, nickel silver, a nickel silver bail. I really like it. It's a well-fashioned bail, but it's small, so it doesn't really get in the way much. Lined nickel silver bolsters, brass liners and divider here. It is carbon steel, but the steel looks really good. I think someone's polished it in another life before I got it, so it looks really clean and nice. Yeah, we'll just start with the main blade. And I think let's take a look at the Tang Stamp first. So this is Sword Brand's Tang Stamp. I think I read somewhere that they would stamp the blade before World War II. After World War II, this Sword Brand was etched on the main blade. But here it is stamped on the front tang of the main blade, sword, and then underneath the 2 cross swords, brand. Really cool Tang Stamp. And on the back is Camillus's more familiar 4-line Tang Stamp. That again, according to Goines, was used up until 1941. And through World War II as well. So it reads Camillus first line, Cutlery Co. second line, Camillus NY third line, and then USA fourth line. These had a more slender spear point blade than a lot of scout knives. They weren't as wide and bellied. Bellied, I guess, is that a word? That's someone's polished this blade pretty well. I did not. I cleaned it, but I did sharpen it. And this old carbon steel takes a hair-splitting edge. Pretty standard, old-style, one-piece can opener here. Just listen to the snap on this knife. It's an old knife. This is an interesting feature. So here's your screwdriver cap lifter. And what's cool about it is that nail pull. Well, it's just cut right to the front there. And then finally, an interesting awl. This is the type of awl that you see with the nail nick here and then the cutting groove here, so you have a very nice sharp edge right here. And a very sharp tip too. Not exactly sure when Camillus started making sword brand scout knives. But I do have a image from a 1928 hardware catalog, which shows Camillus sword brand knives, and it shows the scout knife you see here. And you'll notice that, in the image you can see it has the same kind of nail nick on the screwdriver cap lifter. So it is the same knife. All right, the second knife that I want to show you is a Stainless Cutlery Company of New York knife, which was a Camillus brand, but this knife doesn't say Camillus or sword brand or anything on it. It just reads, the Tang Stamps just reads Stainless Cutlery Co. of New York. It's a brand that, according to Goins, Camillus used from 1924 up until 1940. And also according to Levine's, this 1924 up until the 1930s. I have read that, Camillus introduced this separate company or brand to introduce stainless steel to people. They wanted to kind of protect their traditional Camillus brand name while people kind of got used to this newfangled thing called stainless steel. And stainless steel wasn't very popular at first. People had a hard time sharpening it with the same techniques I guess they had been using for carbon. And I don't know that they just didn't appreciate it quite as much. And maybe the stainless steel wasn't, certainly wasn't as high quality as it is today. But apparently Camillus built these knives exceptionally well, so to leave a good impression on people about stainless steel, so they wouldn't have anything to complain about, and say they would say, hey, that stainless steel is pretty good. This is a nice knife. And this really is a nice knife. It has one of my favorite shields. It has the semaphore flags. This sometimes on the non-stainless versions you can see Scout or Camp knife or something. This one reads Stainless Scout. And the funny thing is that shield's probably nickel silver. But again, nickel silver bolsters line. Here's that same smallish bail. Brass liners and divider. Of course, here you've got stainless springs and everything else is stainless. And because of that, man, this is a pretty knife and it looks great. First of all, let's take a look at those bone handles. I mean, they're just awesome. Its knife is built tight and nice. Again, here's the main blade with the tang. So we can see how that reads, and it just reads stainless. First line, Cutlery Co. Second line, New York City. Third line. And here on the back, instead of Camillus, we just have stainless shield, which is kind of cool. And again, here's that more narrow blade. This blade actually had an etch. Let's see if we can get it to show up. Probably not in the camera, but it actually read Stainless Scout. Here you can barely see Scout. It's difficult under these lights. And you can kind of see Scout. You can basically, to the naked eye, see less Scout there. So at one time it did have an etch. And here is a screwdriver cap lifter with a normal nail nick. And this tool is marked. Actually, all the tools are marked. And this one is CCC. So for Camillus Cutlery Company, there you go. There's your tell. I said it didn't say that anywhere on the knife. I lied. And so recall the can opener has a little S down here. See that? For stainless. Boy, it's just as sharp as the day it was made. And then the same type of awl. This one still has the black down in there that I guess they did that one. They kind of heated it or they blued it or something to prevent corrosion down in there. And somewhere on this blade, yeah, right there, It's another little S for stainless. It's a great punch. There's one other thing about this knife I wanted to show you. I forgot, so I'll just stick it in here. But while I was working with both of these knives, I came across what I think is kind of a curious construction technique, and one I'd never seen on another Scout knife before. But if you look down inside there and you look at that brass liner on the pile side, you can see that it's been cut away. And I guess it's cut away so that the awl here can fit more closely up against the bone scale, and that way they maybe could make the knife narrower. But yeah, I don't know how good of an idea that was. You'd think it would make that part of the scale prone to breaking and chipping. But if it did, or does, it didn't seem to bother these two knives. So Camillus introduced the Stainless Cutlery Company brand in 1924 and carried that up to the World War II, up to 1940. But they didn't introduce the stainless Scout until 1927, according to Goins. And they do have a little ad in Goins from 1927. I'll see if I can put it on the screen. It'll be a poor reproduction probably, but yeah. So yeah, two very old Camillus unofficial Scout knives from the 20s and 30s, a Stainless Cutlery Company of New York City brand, and a sword brand. Very nice. I hope you've enjoyed watching this. As always, I appreciate you, and have fun collecting.